empty table. We've got Councillor Darby and Councillor Hills and the Mayor are at a meeting, so they'll be here shortly. Councillor Clow is an apology. Councillor Collins for lateness, Councillor Stewart for early departure, and Councillor Sir John is on leave of absence. I'll move those.
Happy to second.
Thank you, Wayne. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. So warm welcome to our staff and to our media and to our members of the public. It's lovely to have you here, and hopefully our ranks will improve over the next little while. Any conflicts of interest, declarations of interest? Nope. As usual, just let me know if anything arises.
Oh, just Madam Chair.
Yeah.
In the waste stuff, my cousin is Northern Waste.
Sorry?
Distant cousin.
Distant?
Who?
Distant cousin.
Who is?
He's the other Cashmore.
I've seen twice in 40
He's
years.
referred to as the other Cashmore. But
I
there's
thought you said Northern Waste.
Northern Waste, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Ray Lambert and the team,
Oh, yeah, okay.
the boys.
So that's Ray Lambert, is it?
No, let's not get carried away, councillors. We're just saying there is another Cashmore associated with waste who is not Councillor Cashmore but a distant cousin. Thank you for your declaration. It will be noted.
Yes.
Confirmation of the minutes of the 8th of May. I'll move that. Councillor Philippina will second. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Now, petitions, and we've got one petition, and we've got Lynn Usmani, who wants to present a petition relating to the Hanua Ranges. And councillors, you'll be aware and remember, this is not something we can debate. We accept the petition on behalf of council. So Lynn, would you like to join us and speak to your petition? And you've got, is it 5 minutes? Yeah, so 5 minutes is all yours.
I'll just table these first.
Thank you.
So this petition, which is 720 here, hard copy, plus online, altogether it comes to 270,000.
Jeepers.
Yeah, 270,000. And also table some brochures, some fact sheets, and a letter from 20 copies also of all these, of letter from SPCA who oppose 1080 poison, and also a very important document, the New Zealand Register of Unintended Human Poisonings. So that's it. So I'm ready to start my speech. And okay, so as you see here, I'm today with a petition and a call to action to ask you to withdraw your consent to the proposed aerial dropping of 1080 poison, sodium fluoroacetate, over the Hanua Ranges later this year. This compound is classified by the World Health Organization as a 1A, the highest rating for toxicity. And to support my opposition to the dropping of this horrendous ecotoxin over our water catchment and land, I have with me this very important document. It is the New Zealand Register of Unintended Poison Events from Pest Control Poisons between 1954 and 2018. It is a well-sourced document based on affidavits compiled by Dr. Ursula Eddington, Waikato Regional Councillor Kathy White, Nelson lawyer Sue Gray, Michelle Reid, Clyde and Steve Graff, as well as other citizens. It registers 102 unintended human, protected wildlife, dogs, stock, native birds, aqualife, and wild game poisoning incidents and deaths from 1080 insecticide and Brodifacoum. It includes 31 cases of suspected human poisonings, and I have also added one human death certificate caused by 1080 poison in 1966. This is a working document and estimates the total number of deaths in farm deer and cattle to total approximately 10,000 since 1954. And 17 vets registered in a period of just 1 year, 65 cases of dogs poisoned by 1080. When 1080 poison is dropped over the land, it not only eradicates rats and possums, but it also kills many other animals, including insects, birds, deer, pigs, native fauna, livestock, and beloved pets. These animals are tortured, sometimes for days, until death consumes them. Often no one is around, especially deep in a forest, to shoot these poor creatures in the head and put them out of their misery. Hidden from public view, animals will be dying, screaming, writhing in agony with blood vessels bursting, and their bodies convulsing with the liquefaction and expulsion of internal organs through their mouth and noses. 1080 acts by blocking respiration within the cell mitochondria, which results in a slow, agonizing death. Typically, it takes 8 to 24 hours for birds to die, 18 hours to kill possums, 24 hours to kill dogs, and 2 to 4 days to kill large mammals such as cattle and horses. There is no antidote. So what gives man the right to do this to any species? As one Australian vet said, it's like being electrocuted for over 2 days plus. 1080 poison was originally used as a lethal insecticide in France in 1927 to kill moths. Consequently, when it is dropped into a forest, it causes a mass poisoning of the insect population, which in turn jeopardizes the health of the whole forest. And when insect numbers plummet, it has an effect further up the food chain for the insect predator, such as birds, native bats and frogs, who will starve or die from eating insects containing 1080 poison. All nature is deeply interconnected, which is also blatantly seen with what happens with rats in a forest after a 1080 drop. The first major drop does kill most of the rats and possums, as well as some of their predators, and within a few months bird numbers will increase, but after that bird numbers will fall to a lower level. This is because rats are prolific breeders. A pair of rats can produce a dozen or more rats every 18 weeks. So yes, a poison drop will reduce rat numbers for less than a year. However, in the following years, the rat populations explode, with the consequence of a severe impact on native bird life, and the situation ends up a disaster. 2 independent scientists, Quinn and Patricia Whiting O'Keefe, have reviewed more than 100 of DOC's scientific papers, confirming there's no credible scientific evidence showing any species of native birds benefit from 1080 drops. They also show considerable evidence that DOC's aerial 1080 operations are doing serious harm and killing large numbers of other native species. Most disturbing is what the DOC-sponsored scientific research shows about the entirely unjustifiable assertions regarding 1080's benefits and lack of harm, when in fact there has been considerable evidence to show that there are chronic and sublethal effects to vertebrates, endocrine and reproductive systems. Contrary to what DOC says about 1080 breaking down spontaneously, this is only a half-truth, because 1080 must rely heavily on bacteria and other microorganisms living in warm temperatures in the water or soil to be broken down. 1080 does not lose its killing ability for at least 12 months in cold or stagnant alga-laden water, and 1080 baits can remain poisonous to dogs for more than 32 days during the winter. And even when broken down, 1080's breakdown products of sodium fluoride and the fluoride ions are not safe and are still toxic to humans, animals and ecosystems. People seem to underestimate the impact of 1080 poison and the infringement upon basic animal and human rights to live in a clean and safe environment. And I believe we are being manipulated to think that risks to these lethal poisons do not exist. And nobody has a right to support cruelty to animals. Not the government, not DOC, not Osprey, not the regional councils, not the city councils, and not the Green Party. It saddens me to think we have become so disconnected from nature, have no concern for the future generations, and have lost our empathy and compassion towards animals. And why not, instead of a huge barbaric state-owned poison enterprise which imports 1080 by the ton, why can't we have a thriving possum business as a contributor to the economy of wild animal fur, pelt and pet food, and exports as a cheaper option? It would outstrip 1080 any day. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you very much, Lynn. I'll just ask Tam to come and pick up the documents that you've tabled, and we accept your petition. I don't want us to enter into a debate or discussion about this, councillors. It's not the appropriate time, but just to remind people that as we've done prior to operations, we will be having a briefing and we will have an opportunity for councillors, Independent Māori Statutory Board and our local board to be involved in that, remembering that we're working with iwi, with our local board, with our local community and the Hanuas, DOC and the Medical Officer of Health on this issue. So Lynn, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Through you, Madam Chair.
Councillor Walker.
Is it possible to distribute a copy of the petition? And when I say the copy of the petition, I just mean the frontispiece, not all the
No.
Not all the signatures?
And that's why we've tabled it, and that'll be made available to members of the committee.
It would have been useful to actually distribute it here and now, but there we are.
I have a question for Lynn, based on what she said.
Councillor, okay, we'll take one quick question, Lynn, but I don't, we don't have the staff here, nor is this on the agenda,
It's
so we
nothing to
don't
do
have
with
the
staff,
ability
it's just
to
a-
answer things.
Lynn, you mentioned in that green report, which is the poisonings, you mentioned someone died in 1966.
Yes,
Could
I've
you-
got the death certificate in it. Sorry, I forgot to mention that.
Could you just tell me in a couple of sentences how that occurred?
They were poisoned through 1080, and that's what the doctor wrote out. You'll see it in that death certificate. It's in there.
It's in this.
It's in the back of it. Have a look.
Alright.
It's got the
Member
autopsy
Brown?
report.
I just wanted a clarity over the number on the petition. I got confused over how many had signed and how many were online.
Okay, and I think we will check that. I think Lynn said 270,000. So is that in the area, or is that?
Okay, so we had a hard copy, which was 230. That was all locally taken around, and then online there was another. Whatever it says, I just picked it up this morning. What was it, Bunty? 562. So I added those two together, and then there's online.
Another 13 petitions
Another-
that have been raised over the last few years. Some of them are still current. And there's nearly 270,000 signatures on there.
Okay,
Altogether.
all right, that
Yeah.
clarifies.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Brown. Thank you very much, and Lynn, thank you for your
Thank
time
you.
today.